finally, in the last half-hour slot, I'll invite our honored guest, Dr. Gopinath Mohanty. Again, he has been introduced many times. And he has done extensive work in the parts of Orissa that I think is not very known to most of us. I think there's an awful lot of his writings, his scholastic work. He is with us today, and let's hear Dr. Gopinath Mohanty. Mr. President and esteemed friends, this is my 74th year. Somehow, I have been feeling intuitively that someday I will come out to the States. I had never planned to do so. And in this way, 72 years of my life were spent mostly in Orissa. And that too, mostly among the common people, the laborers, peasants, poor people, and the tribals living in the wilderness, in the mountains of Orissa. Here, I heard about two people being killed by tigers. From 1940 to 1945, I was in the mountainous district of Koraput, where I had to cover miles and miles on foot through dense jungles across ranges of hills. That is the hump of the Eastern Ghats Range. And in those days, the annual toll by tigers in the limits of every police station, that is within a radius of some 20 miles, was 350 to 100. I have met tigers on many occasions. Not only I, but even my children. I have shown them the tiger. The big man-eater, the marvel of tiger, erroneously called the Royal Bengal tiger. Most of the tigers are in Orissa. It formed part of Bengal after the British occupied it for some time. And on 3 occasions, the tiger was lying in wait for me. On the first occasion, he made a rush and missed me by about 15 feet. It was right. On the second occasion, he followed me, moving at a distance of some 20 feet from me, under the bushes, and that took for a mile, until we got to a stream. On the third occasion, he was lying in wait for me about 30 feet from me at a place where I was squatting in the dark. And the very next day, the tiger killed a man. He ate him up, and he was the best tribal social worker of the village. His name was Shiva Kong. And in memory of that incident, I wrote my novel, Shiva Bhai, Shiva my brother.
When I came to America, I was full of ideas about America which I have gathered from books. I was a student of English literature, and so many of my favorite authors were. I came with the mission of first paying homage to Thoreau, who gave the idea of civil disobedience to Mahatma Gandhi. And he wrote Walden, and with whom I have found so much in common in the course of my life in the wilderness. Well, I went to Walden Pond. I went to the village where he had lived, to the very spot where he had his cottage. And another ambition of mine was to see the place where Harriet Beecher Stowe, the authoress of Uncle Tom's Cabin, which I had read early in my childhood and which had inspired West End. I saw that. I saw the house where Emerson had lived with Elizabeth, almost a guru in his time. I went to see Mark Twain's house. I am very fond of humor and very fond of the free, natural life which Mark Twain has described in his books. I went and saw him. So, my Tirtha Darsana, my pilgrimage was over with these. But there is another place. I went to Yosemite. And what I saw at Yosemite far excels my impressions of mountains in Odisha, in the Kolhapur district, the Fulwani district, the Moyabhanj district, and the little of the Himalaya mountains I have seen at Kashmir and at other places. Somehow, I believe in spiritualism, in man's spiritual life. I believe in so many things which would appear clear to you. I believe in extrasensory perceptions. I believe in some reality which is beyond what can be seen, at least which can be perceived through your senses. I believe in one God, and one embodiment of that God is Shiva. You can imagine Shiva as a human being, a person who is all powerful, but who never decks himself with his power, nor takes advantage of his power to help himself in him. Whatever he has, he gives him. He takes poison because that is the last thing which would benefit anybody on earth. The rest he leaves to other people to eat. He goes without clothes. He adapts himself to places of which other people would have no use. And being without a cloth himself, as our poet Kalidas has said, he is himself the source of all wealth and prosperity. And he is the sublime, formless one. Well, in Yosemite, at a particular place, I seem to feel them. There was Shiva before. They are on the mountains. And I broke into Shiva's putra, worshipping Shiva there. There are some Americans there. They were feeling equally exhilarated at the sight that we talked about. We spoke about the oneness of God, the presence of God everywhere, and our one brother, myself, there. After that, I have seen different places. I did not go into that. First when I came to California, what struck me was the beauty, the order, the quiet, the repose of this country. With so many people around, there is no sound in the busy cities. People don't shout at each other. What a musical way they have of talking slowly, and that too quickly, very quickly, very slowly. And nobody disturbs anybody else. How different it is from my experience in my country. I couldn't sleep for nights when the microphone would be roaring, Gopala Theti, Govinda Theti. There is no restraint there on the use of microphones. But here they don't use them. And in the streets, all the cars honking all at a time. And what we find here is cars moving soundlessly. Nobody transgressing on the other's rights. And there is not a speck of dust. They have taken pains to cover all the bare spaces of glass. How green it is. It looks beautiful, and it stops the dust from moving. So also about the use of what is to be thrown away. They are garbages. They are littering. Littering is punishable. You can't litter anything on streets. How different it is in my own country, where in the seats of learning, the universities, sometimes you find walls painted vermilion in the juice from far, and people chewing and spitting as if it's a cockfish. These are things to be spoken out loud. Dr. Freeman has spoken of one proverb in Odia. I should tell you another. You shouldn't try to conceal fire by the cloth with which you wrap yourself. But that is what we have been doing. We conceal this fire. We give everything a window dressing. If we could not expose these things, this would work. And added to this, I was struck with the number of trees in the crowded places in the cities. At one time, the Bhubaneswar, which Dr. Freeman lived, was called Ekambra Kanam. It was a jungle. It really was a jungle of big trees, while I was a student, and even much later, when Mr. Bundavan Panitai here, who is my junior, was reading in the college, Bhubaneswar was already jungle. Then we started building our new capitals. You build your cities here too. But there, when the construction started, all the trees were felled away, leaving the bare rock. As a contrast to the beautiful architecture of the temples of old Bhubaneswar, temples of different centuries, there rose these box-like buildings of the capital. We call it Paravadi, that means the boxes in which pigeons are kept. And the trees were gone, and now this place is so hot. But here, it is as if the people recognize that the trees also have a right to live. That is like the Buddha's precepts conveyed by Asoka's son Mohinda to the king of Sinha, Dharmapala Desa. O king, these trees, the trees and the wild animals have as much right to life as human beings. So nurture them. Don't take their life away. The sequoia, the redwood, what are they? How many hundreds of years are old are they? How much of history do they represent? So also when our trees in Odisha, in India, the big banyan trees, the people trees, but while professing to recognize Brahma in everything, in the trees as well, modern planning lays the axe at the foot of the trees. Not so in America. Americans should be proud that their national parks intact. Otherwise, these would have vanished. I would never have been able to see this one. Here also, the land is full of mines, valuable minerals. But in spite of that, certain areas have been left out. They have been preserved. Look at the attitude of the Americans towards animals. There, in the streets of Kotak or Bhubaneswar, when somebody sees a dog going along, the first thing which comes to one's mouth, and which Dr. Friedman must have heard, is para, 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 beat it. And when you see a cat or a dog, instinctively you lean down, pick up the nearest dog and throw it at the dog of the cat. It is so different here. If somebody maims a cat, it becomes an issue in the local newspaper. Now, that clearly demonstrates that these people have the necessary tenderness of mind so as to understand life, the respect for life. Not only this, I shall tell you another story from my own experience. I heard at Bishampata in the Raigada subdivision in the Pura state, there is a Christian mission. That is a tiger invested area. And the tiger carries away people in broad daylight. What to speak of night? Once, a drunken fawn just lay down on the road at a distance of 6 miles from Visampata. And that was a place which was notorious for man-eating tigers. It was dusk. So many people were going. Vehicles were passing. Nobody took note of the man. The man had vomited. He was lying on his side. All of a sudden, there came a vehicle in which the missionary was traveling. He stopped his car. He picked up this semi-nude form over with his vomit and with all such body. Carried him to his jeep, took him to the bishop. Now, where is religion when human life is not cared? Of what use is it to do this hobbies, or to do this, or to chant or to dance, if the essential point is forgotten? Love and respect and dignity for life wherever found. So everything is there in our Shastras, but I don't think that the dark period in our civilization, which we ascribe conveniently to the Middle Ages, has ceased. I can say it has been passing. And the passing was made possible by great people like Mahatma Gandhi. But what after Gandhi? Where is Mahatma Gandhi now? There have been other people with the name of Gandhi, but there was only one Mahatma Gandhi. We are waiting for the future. Look at the birds. Here they are well cared for. You have mentioned the chilka. Now in the chilka lake, hundreds of ducks used to be slaughtered. They were slaughtered for food. They were sold. I am told that some ban has been put on that. I don't know how effectively those bans are working. Because people from Bengal, particularly refugees, were using tall nets in order to catch these ducks as they flew from the chilka to their resting places in the evening. They were caught in hundreds and sold in the markets everywhere. We have to learn all these things from America and many more things too. I met Americans. I have found them very amiable, helpful, straightforward. That smile which lights up their face when they meet a stranger, that polite, warm-hearted hi is not affected. It seems to say, yes, I recognize that you are a human being. You deserve my respect and my love, but what am I? Well, that is what one would look for. Not being someone is love. Another thing which I see here is there is no service kowtowing before superiors, seniors, or people in authority. Professors and students meet as family members. In India, we have been habituated to just the opposite thing. Ajnanurunam Abhicharaniya. If somebody is your preceptor, you have to obey his orders. You cannot discuss, you cannot question his orders. All elders are to be regarded with veneration, and so to all people being power. And so, we often use the word sir as a speaker. And in how many ways we pronounce that word? It depends on the man who matters. Sir, the senior or the man in power is talking to his subordinate. The subordinate won't say you. He will address him in English. Sir was saying that sir, like to go to the sir. Is sir ready? Now that has persisted. It might be a list from the British times. But we didn't actually learn the virtues of the British. All we learn from the British seems to be how to wear trousers, to put on a hat and be everybody. Not the great things, the struggling virtues, those have been done. And this entire business has come from the British time. So, if Dr. Freeman were to teach a class in Odisha, people would shy away from him as if he is something dreadful because he is a professor and they are students. How dare they open their mouths before him? They have to listen to him, of course, that is another thing. But they would take it totally out of etiquette. They sit to question him. Now that slavishness is against the sense of freedom. Earlier this morning I was speaking about Mukti, the Statue of Liberty, and what that stands for. The sense of freedom of the American people. It is as if man has come to this place with a mission to think and work with freedom, to find himself and to work out his destiny, and to seek truths, which can be achieved only with this sense of abhaya, non-fear, and freedom. That is what has impressed me most. Well, I had known Dr. Freeman at Venezuela, and what greater pleasure would I have than being associated with him in his university. The moment he saw me, he welcomed me with open arms. And here I am, a student of literature. Of course, I have written about the tribals, but I am not an anthropologist or a qualified one. I am supposed to be an adjunct professor in the Department of Social Sciences, that is anthropology, of which Dr. Freeman is the chair in the San Diego State University. Now this honor was not given to me in my own country. I have received some honors. I have been a fellow on different occasions. I have taught in Jupiter University, so on and so forth. But imagine my surprise when, without looking into my credentials, into the degrees which I hold or not, simply on the basis of whatever little work I have done, Dr. Freeman at his San Jose State University straightway appointed me an adjunct professor in that department. I deem it a great honor, sir. Well, I hold it with no less measure than the honor of receiving the Jnanapith Award or being honored by villagers in the interior of Odisha as their right. So, now that my fellow people from Odisha happen to be here, some as citizens of America and some as sojourners or temporary residents, certainly I would expect them to make the most of the best of both worlds, the best values that they can find in America, together with the best in their own tradition. That they no doubt are doing. I would only suggest that they set up some agency for the study of Sanskrit and for the study of Oriya, so that their children here might know more of their roots, of their cultural values, and at the same time assimilate what is best in Odisha. I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak to you.
Any questions for Dr. Gopinath Mohanty?
No offense, but I don't think that there was a very attractive picture of Odisha given to the children for them to go back to it. I do agree.
This is bonus only from the
No, that's okay.
India West. No, I just any comments?
I couldn't properly understand.
The question, the comment, not a question.
I'm just commenting on it that in the end you said that you like the children to understand more about Odisha. What I mean to say is that it wasn't a very attractive picture of Odisha which you painted.
I don't know what picture of Odisha I conveyed, but you have just shown it. If you kindly read the article which I have there, entitled Odisha as a Tradition, I think that will convey to you what I have in mind about Odisha. I've been trying to impress on myself and my friends here that we should not go merely to extol everything that we have liked. There should be free self-criticism also and an openness of mind to take the best from other people's cultures and civilizations. Of course, the ultimate goal is for one world, people with a common humanity linked together in love. That is the theme, by the way, of my major novel, Mohanty. Okay.